Marcos, can you really be a good president if you don't answer serious questions? Sorry? Can you really be a good president if you're not doing serious interviews? Are you hiding something from the public? Are you hiding something, Mr. Marcos?
Hi guys, how you doing? I just wanted to make a few more comments on the recent ambush interview of BBM by BBC journalist Howard Johnson. You know, I have to say that I've been listening to the video of Sass recently where she's talking about white people maybe feeling entitled and talking about the colonial past of England and the British people. She's right. I can't deny that. Some bad things happened in the past where the UK or British people did in fact go round to other countries and pilfer them, and of course the time of slavery and everything else that happened that shouldn't have happened. And of course I'm very sorry personally about our past, but we can't change that. And unfortunately this has left a bitter taste in the mouth of many. Many perhaps see us white people as maybe invaders, as maybe conquerors, as maybe bad people. And I understand why some people feel that way. But I have to say, and I know Sass has said this in her interview, not all Europeans are like that and not all white people are like that. But I have to say, and I have to apologize, just the shocking and disrespectful way that BBC journalist Howard Johnson had ambushed BBM, is really unforgivable. Of course, I accept the fact that journalists have a right to report in different countries. I accept that, and I accept the fact that basically during election time there is going to be international interest of Philippine politics. Of course there is, and I'm sure that the Philippines welcomes reporters from across the world to report on Philippine politics. But what I find really disgusting is that there is a reporter in the name of Howard Johnson from the BBC who's incredibly biased. When you go into a foreign country, you go there by invitation. It's a privilege. I sometimes hear about maybe white people, they're going to the Philippines and, they expect this to happen, they expect that to happen, and they feel it's their God-given right to be there. No, it's not. It's a privilege. The Philippine government have every right to refuse any visa. It is not a God-given right for foreigners to enter the Philippines. Howard Johnson has been in the Philippines now for a long time reporting, and I've noticed the whole time during the Duterte administration, Howard Johnson was very biased in his reporting. It's very easy for the headlines to be created, or so much clickbait in the Philippines. Whenever President Duterte maybe said something maybe that wasn't kind of off key, if you like, or maybe he made a statement, it'll be Howard Johnson who'd be making a massive, great big issue out of that. People need to understand that President Duterte loves the Philippines very much. He loves every man, woman and child in the Philippines and wants a country free of drugs, wants a country free of corruption. So the style of President Duterte, going back to President Duterte first, the style of President Duterte was to sometimes scare criminals. His style was to use rhetoric. His style was to tell these stories about, he has said killing people or whatever. That's the style of President Duterte. It's a style that Westerners maybe wouldn't understand. You know, Westerners can't compare themselves to the Philippines. They can't compare to their life to the life of Filipinos. You know, Westerners haven't had the same struggles that Filipinos have had. You know, Philippines is still a developing country and life can be pretty tough. So I agree, you know, white people can be privileged if they're compared to Philippine people or people from the Philippines, so-called brown people. And, you know, there's a lot of white people who go to the Philippines and think they have this privilege and think they have this God-given right, you know, and Howard Johnson seems to be one of these people, you know, looking again at the ambush interview of BBM. You know, as far as I'm concerned, it was disrespectful. You know, the way Howard Johnson was there poking his microphone into the face of BBM and asking him such a question, you know, about serious, do you go to any serious debates or anything like that? As Sass said, and I fully agree with her, the debate with Boyabundo was completely fair and completely serious, and the SMNI debate, you know, BBM was asked some very serious, important questions, and you know he answered them with courtesy, respectful of other candidates. You know, if Howard Johnson wants to interview any candidate, why doesn't he go to Lenny? Why doesn't Howard Johnson put a microphone in front of Lenny's face when she's attending an event, you know, Ma'am Lenny Robredo? Why doesn't Howard Johnson stick a microphone in front of her face and ask her questions? You know, why doesn't Howard Johnson stick a microphone in front of Isco or Manny or any other candidate? Why?
Kasi sir, hindi mabenta yung mga kandidato na yon. Itong si Howard Johnson na to, nakikisabay sa hype ni Apo BBM. Tingnan nyo, bigla siya nag-trending. Ang hilig mangialam nitong tao na to, dapat dito hindi na papasukin sa Pilipinas tong Howard Johnson na to. Kapal ng muka.
Did Howard Johnson immediately single out BBM? You know, he didn't really give President Duterte a chance. He was always, against President Duterte or bias against President Duterte. You know, the fact is, I'm a license payer. I'm a UK national. I'm a license payer. The BBC is the official news channel in our country, or the one that we pay a license fee for, and the main news channel in our country. And I would expect news to be impartial. I would expect, the BBC to interview all candidates. I would expect the BBC to be respectful of all candidates in the presidential elections and vice presidential elections. You know, it really, really angers me that Howard Johnson has been disrespectful to a national politician in the Philippines. Whatever his skew-if views are, whatever rhetoric he's been listening to, or whatever lies he's been hearing or whatsoever, you know, I don't think it gives Howard Johnson any right to approach BBM in that way, to stick a microphone in his face and speak to him like that. It's completely and utterly disrespectful. I expect the BBC News to be unbiased. I've written to the BBC today and I've expressed my outrage at the style of Howard Johnson. You know, I would expect any BBC correspondent to be fair. You know, why doesn't he look at Stephen Sakor and the way that Stephen Sakor is fair? You know, he asks the right questions. You know, when he interviews people, he shows respect. Why doesn't Howard Johnson follow this line of questioning? You know, I'd much rather have Stephen Sakor interview maybe BBM, maybe interview Lenny, Manny, Isco. You know, he would be a much better representation of a journalist representation. And you know, Howard Johnson needs to remember that he's in a foreign country. He's not in the UK, you know, he's in the Philippines, you know, he needs to have more respect. Why would he be disrespecting one of the most popular politicians in the Philippines? You know, if you look at the survey results, BBM has a percentage in terms of popularity, in terms of the presidential race. BBM is at the moment, according to the surveys, winning that by around 50 to 60%. The nearest rival, i.e. Madam Vice President Lenny, is only 20%, you know? People can see that BBM is truly a politician who is admired in the Philippines by many, not by all, but many admire BBM, many admire his advocacies, and many, of course, admire the way that he conducts himself in his political campaign. He is not rude, he is not disrespectful, he's not swearing at other politicians, he's not accusing other politicians. And maybe Howard Johnson needs to focus on that. Maybe Howard Johnson needs to look at the style of BBM. BBM would never be disrespectful to any politician or any journalist. I really don't think BBM will be sticking a microphone in the face of Howard Johnson and being rude to him. So why did that happen? You know, there are questions to be asked. The BBC really need to be asking themselves if they are commissioning a reporter who is unbiased, or if the BBC are looking for certain kind of stories. You know, it really does annoy me that whenever the Philippines is featured on the news in the BBC, maybe on CNN or other media channels, there's always something negative, whether it be about drugs in the Philippines, whether it be about the style of leadership of President Duterte, or whatever it is. You know, it just annoys me that the BBC can't report good things. Why doesn't the BBC report about the Build program, about the roads, the airports, the infrastructure, so many improvements in the country since the time of President Duterte? Why doesn't the BBC focus on that? You know, they're just looking for clickbait. I really do believe that the agenda of the BBC is to look for clickbait, to make the Philippines look bad, to make Philippine politicians look bad. And I find it absolutely sickening. You know, as a license fee payer, as somebody, a white man, people have said I'm a white man. Yes, I'm a white man. Yes, I'm living in the UK. But I have to say, and please mark my words, not all white people are like that. You know, not all white people are disrespectful. When I go to the Philippines, I know it's a privilege to be there. It's an honor to be there. You know, I'm so grateful. You know, whenever I go back home and I'm lining up and I'm waiting in immigration to be able to get into the Philippines, I'm always respectful. You know, yes, sir, maraming salamat po, sir. Thank you, ma'am. You know, I believe when you are in a country, you need to be respectful. You know, you need to know when to toe the line. You need to understand that, you know, foreigners meddling in politics. And here I go again. You know, I'm going to get my bashers who say, Malcolm, you are meddling in politics. But, you know, I know the law. I know the rules on the foreigners meddling in politics. You know, I can't take part in any political activity when I'm in the Philippines. I wouldn't dare dream to attend any rally. You know, when I'm in the country during election time and I see a rally taking place, you know, I cross over the road. I avoid it at all costs, whether it's for or against the administration. I'm not going to be involved in any rally. So what gives the right of Howard Johnson, you know, as a foreign journalist, to go there and to poke his microphone in the face of any politician and to be disrespectful? And then this whole thing about, have you got anything to hide? You know, where on earth did that statement come from? You know, BBM is a politician running in a national election. It has nothing to do with the UK. It has nothing to do with the BBC. You know, if the BBC thinks that BBM has anything to hide, rather than sending one of their lackeys to the Philippines with a microphone to ambush interview BBM, you know, they need to have respect. You know, there are political channels and diplomatic channels. If the BBC think that BBM has anything to hide, why don't they politically maybe write a letter, maybe go through the right channels? Why are they sending this lackey to the Philippines, disrespecting Philippine politicians? You know, BBM has been a politician for many years in the Philippines, and I know he's helped a lot of people, and I know he's done a lot of good things in the country. And, you know, he's not a young man anymore, with the greatest respect. You know, he's not a teenager. BBM is in his 70s. He's a strong man. But, you know, to go there and to ram a microphone into his face and then to make some kind of accusation or something to him is completely wrong. And I'm sorry. And I have to say again, you know, not all foreigners are like that. You know, not all white people are like that. You know, I know my place. I have respect for the Philippines. I have respect for the Philippine people. I have respect for all politicians, regardless of their political colors. I've never ever sworn or said a bad swear word or insulted any politician, and that includes Vice President Leni Robredo. I've always called her Vice President. I've always called her ma'am. I've never insulted her. I've never sworn directed towards her. And the same thing with Isco. You know, I've never said a bad word against Isco or Manny. You know, it's not my place to do that. I'm not Filipino. Of course, I hope people will appreciate my political choice. Of course, and I'm sure many people will, but I think it's about respect. My point is, as a foreigner who visits the Philippines, I think you should respect politicians. Of course, you're entitled to your political opinion. Of course, Howard Johnson could have very easily requested an interview with BBM, a proper sit-down interview through a proper channel. Or the BBC could have maybe requested that they would interview all Filipino politicians or all candidates. But the way he went about it is just wrong. You know, as far as I'm concerned, it's rude, it's disrespectful. You know, I know that journalists have some kind of license to go abroad and to gather news. I accept that. But was this ambush interview by BBM? This is the question the BBC needs to be asking in conclusion. Was this interview by Howard Johnson the way that the BBC conducts itself? Is this acceptable? You know, the BBC were in a foreign land. You know, they weren't on British soil. They're in a foreign land. And diplomatically, is this the way the BBC should be conducting themselves? I.e., they send a journalist who we already know is biased, and they've sent that journalist to the Philippines, and clearly they are looking for clickbait. You know, they've posted it on the BBC News, they've posted it on their social media channels. Clearly they're looking for clickbait. And then if you look at the page of Howard Johnson as well, you know, it says trolls will be recorded or whatever, you know. I don't agree with any threats to Howard Johnson. I don't agree with any insulting words to Howard Johnson. You know, Howard Johnson doesn't deserve to have personal threats. Somebody made a really nasty threat towards him, and I don't agree with that. My style is to be respectful. Respectful to all politicians, respectful to the Philippines, the Filipino people, but I also expect respect back. That's what it's about. That's the best way of being in this world. You know, it's like the Philippine policy of friends with everyone, enemies with no one. This is the best way to be. This is the best way to conduct them, to conduct yourself. And Howard Johnson, you know, he's making enemies. You know, he's being disrespectful. You know, BBM is not even president yet, and already the attitude of Howard Johnson is very much disrespectful. It's very much condescending. You know, he didn't even give BBM the chance to speak. He didn't. If you interview someone, you need to give them a fair crack at the whip. You need to give them the chance to defend themselves. You know, this is not appropriate. This wasn't the best way to conduct himself. And quite frankly, it's embarrassing. As a TV license payer here in the UK, I'm embarrassed by the actions of Howard Johnson. He does not represent the British people. He does not represent white people. I am incredibly sorry to the Philippine people for the actions of this man. I am incredibly sorry about his conduct and the way that he's carried out this interview. It's very disrespectful to BBM and to BBM. I'm incredibly sorry. Please understand, and I know you do understand, because I know you've been to the UK. I know you studied at Oxford, and I know you love the UK. I know your children have also been here and studied here. Let me say again, you know, not all white people are like that. Not all white people are as disrespectful as the conduct of Howard Johnson. And again, I'm very sorry, sir. And, you know, I wish you the very best wishes in the forthcoming election. And, you know, I just want to send my love to everyone in the Philippines, my appreciation and my heartfelt apologies of the actions of this so-called white man, as some people have said. You know, not all white people are interfering, and not all white people are so disrespectful as this Howard Johnson was.